everyone. We should be in and we should be live, I hope. So if someone can, today we're going to use the chat box. So if you are on and if you are joining us live, you should be able to have see a control panel somewhere on your screen. So if you want to just jump in the chat box and say hi and let me know you're here, that would be really appreciated. Otherwise I may just be talking to myself and we don't want that. Oh yeah, fantastic. I can see people jumping in now. Wonderful, lovely. So many people here, such an important topic. Thanks. Yeah, I can see hi Sarah, hi Eva, hi Carolyn, hi Sue, hi Rebecca. Fantastic. Perfect. Thank you. So we are all here today to talk about teacher self-care, which is a pressing topic at any moment in time, but also a really pressing topic right now. Gosh, I think as teachers, you know, we struggle, and I'll talk a lot about how we're such givers. We struggle to give to ourselves because we give to so many other people. And with everything that is happening, going on with coronavirus, we can't ignore it. We have to talk about it. And that's why we've put these Shutdown Brunch PLs together. It's in the title. We really have to prioritise us. And it is one of the hardest things to do. For most teachers, it's not like an intrinsic practice to look after ourselves because we are worried about, you know, our own family or the students in our class or our colleagues and what are we doing for them. And today we're here to kind of break some of that down so we can really connect back in with ourselves and do some self-care. That is, I'm going to talk about self-care in a few different ways. So some ways that are really about looking after you and the concept of being selfish and selfless. So looking at what that means when it comes to self-care, but also how you can practice self-care without feeling like you're, without feeling guilty. I think sometimes with teacher self-care, we feel a little bit guilty that we're looking after ourselves, and it can be really hard to do. And we've got to be able to work with that and break that down so we can put ourselves first at times. And we can certainly do that in a way where we know we're not going to be impacting others or taking away from others. And that's not what we would do at all. So there's a little bit of selfishness that we need to learn to practice, and we're going to unpack that. So if you've just jumped on, just a reminder, we're going to use the chat box today, so you can jump in there. You just need to make sure that it's set. Either you can set that when you write a comment to down, there's a drop box and it'll say send to all panelists, which are the hosts, so myself and Simon, who is on here from Real Schools as well, or you can send it to everyone, so all attendees. Obviously, we'd love the chat to be public so everyone can engage, but if there's something that you want to remain private, of course, you can just send it to us and we will only have access to that. Hi, a few people jumping on. Wonderful, thanks. Okay, so let's take a minute, I think, before we start, just to check in and ask yourself, how are you? How are you feeling right now? If you could describe that in one word, drop it in the chat box for me. You know, how are you feeling? How is this whole crazy mess we are finding ourselves in right now impacting on you? Shoot away, anxious, tired, yeah, absolutely. It's all too much, yeah. Worried, overwhelmed, uncertain, apprehensive, yeah. Scared, yeah, for sure. A learning opportunity, I love that. There is absolutely, if you did the webinar I ran on Monday about working from home, I talked about how there's a bright side, and there is some learning to take away from this. There are some possibilities and things that are going to open up as we move to this online learning and schools being different that we need to embrace. Yeah, inspired, fantastic. So I think at the moment there are two categories of emotions that we're feeling, and of course there's that default of feeling overwhelmed and anxious and stressed, and you're unsure how it's going to go and scared. And I think I would say nearly everyone feels like that because we're going into the unknown. And when we go into the unknown and we're out of our comfort zone and what we expect reality to look like, all of those feelings come up for us, and it's completely normal. You know, it's like if you're a kindergarten teacher and you taught and you teach kindergarten at the start of the year, you know, we have students coming to us who feel anxious and nervous and overwhelmed because it's a new experience for them, but it's also exciting and it's something to look forward to, and there's learning opportunities for all of us. And so any experience we go into where it is the unknown, it has two sides, and it really is about what we focus on and the story we tell ourselves in the situation. So there have been some great Facebook posts getting around at the moment which really affirm that. One of the funny one that I like getting around is the one that says, this is Mother Nature's way of sending you all to your room to think about what you've done, which is followed with, the canals clearing in Venice, and birds in China that haven't been heard for who knows how long are coming back, and blue skies in London because the pollution's gone. So there are some positive things here that we can start to look at. I think once we get over the hurdle and the, oh my God, this is happening, we can start to put our energy towards something that is going to make us see the positive, and that's really important. Otherwise we end up in this spiraling down loop, and one negative emotion just adds on to the next and the next and the next, and all of a sudden it's all we can see, and it's all we're focusing on, and it's all we're paying attention to, and this can really impact our self-care and our mood and our energy, and it's not a space we want to go into. Someone, Anna Marie, has commented here, staff are bonding in different ways to support each other. And I just think that is beautiful. I have seen teachers coming together in all sorts of ways who before thought this wouldn't be possible, or it'd be way harder than it is. And I think what we're seeing is this big wave of generosity come through in the education space. So again, teachers from all over the world are sharing their resources, talking about things that they are doing for their students. They're posting videos. I'm here in Canberra, and Mount Stromlo High School posted a hilarious video on their Facebook page yesterday, which I encourage you to watch. It's some of their staff have got together to run a 20-minute line dancing video for their students. And so one teacher's got his cowboy outfit on, and then all of the other teachers are behind in what looks like animal mascot costumes, which is hilarious, and they run this whole line dancing video for their students. So teachers are being creative, they're connecting, they're putting together and putting themselves out there in ways that if we didn't have this, wouldn't happen. We wouldn't have teachers getting together and teaching 20 minutes of line dancing in animal mascot costumes if everything was the way it was. So in some ways it takes a certain element of change to happen for us to be able to find new ways to move forward. Yeah, it's a weird feeling for teachers to be getting so much good publicity. It really is. I think my sister has two little boys. She has a 5 and a 4-year-old, or nearly 6 and 4, and she's constantly calling and texting me, asking me for teaching tips. But she's like, oh my goodness, teachers are incredible. And we're seeing that come through in so many different ways, with people really understanding now what it's like to teach. So I said to my sister, yeah, you've got 2. Do you want to add 20 more to that? She's like, oh my goodness, no way. And I think that there's going to be a wave of compassion for teachers and understanding, and hopefully that does come out in a way that is really positive for us. And I think for us to have an impact in that space as well, we need to be showing that we can go with this. I talked on Monday about how we're flexible and we're adaptable to our environment all the time. We deal with having this amazing lesson planned, and we're going to go and do something, and we're really excited, and all of a sudden the lunchtime, afternoon playground incident rolls into your classroom, and you've got to press pause and deal with that. And so the 40 minutes you thought you had is now condensed to 20, and you just have to be flexible. We're really good at that. We know what that is like. We know what it's like to be in the middle of a maths lesson and the fire alarms go off and you're evacuated and there goes that lesson. We know what it's like to want to start the day with some explicit instruction, and a parent needs to steal 10 or 15 minutes of your time, and you have to give that, and so you lose that. We know what it's like to be flexible and adaptable, and I think this is just one of those experiences. Yeah, it's on a larger scale, but we have to look at what are the opportunities, what are the positives. What if we started to see this as an exciting opportunity to connect with educators in a broader spectrum, not just in our immediate school? Or what if we saw this in an opportunity to provide learning in a different way and connect with our students back in the home? So however you're feeling, I just want to say that it's totally valid, and it's totally normal and acceptable, and there is no right or wrong way to feel. But part of self-care is also about acknowledging how you feel and taking responsibility for that. So no one is responsible for your emotion or your reaction than you. No one else can do that or decide that. No one else can decide what you focus on or how you feel. And it's important to go, you know what, I've been feeling really meh lately, like just really down about the whole thing. And I mean, who wouldn't? But it doesn't mean you have to stay there. So part of self-care is going, what are my other options here? How else can I feel? What are the opportunities we see in this? So I'm going to throw that out to you. What are some of the opportunities we see in this situation that we can leverage and engage with, that we can start to tell ourselves? Jump on the comment box, let me know what are the things that we can take away from this space that are positive, or we can start to focus on. So things like connecting with each other is a really important positive thing to look at here. Reconnecting with family is fantastic. You know, it's ironic, isn't it? We often say we can never get a hold of parents and we can't get them in the classrooms. And I'm generalizing, not every parent, but you know, there are certainly some, and we'd love more connection. And all of a sudden it's all the time. Yeah, using board games. I was talking to my sister about this. Board games are learning. I bought my nephew Junior Scrabble for Christmas, and I'm like, get that out. That is one of the best ways we can learn, is through games and fun, having time with our own family. I was only talking to my partner this morning about, so they're just doing he's a teacher as well. So they've just started a rotating roster for some teachers that are on site and some are at home. I'm like, goodness, if you drive 20 or 30 minutes to school and back each day, you have an extra hour in your day to connect with family or to slow down, as someone's saying. Fantastic. Yeah. There are these things that are going to pop up that we can start to focus on. Oh, your daughter's making her own game now. Super cute. Yeah. Oh, I like this. Instructions have to be more precise and thought through. Now, I wonder if that is a message to all of us teaching generally. It's feedback on our teaching. Are we being as precise as we could? Are we really taking down our learning as small as it can go, so it is accurate and to the point? So we're removing some of the waffle that we might use in our classrooms because we don't have that much time. We can only use 5-minute, 10-minute videos at the most, because no student's going to sit there for longer than that. So it is about being precise. I love that. Creative, playing outside with our family, because we don't always get to do that. Yeah, I love that too. Student voice and choice about what they'd like to be learning. Yeah, really important. There is time now for our students to start to think about, what do I want to learn about? And we become facilitators of that and helping them. How great is that? We get to do that. Yeah, students will value the connection and face-to-face time more afterwards. Absolutely. I think we can all agree that there are some students at the moment who would be feeling really lost and isolated, especially our students who don't have siblings. It could be a really lonely time for them right now. And students who have parents who are working from home but are really busy and not able to sit down and play those games with them or talk to them about the learning that's happening. So yeah, there is definitely that sense of valuing classroom time when we get back. A chance for parents to see how much work goes into our day. Absolutely. Yeah. Limited behavior management, more focusing on learning. Isn't that what we all say as teachers? Like, oh, if they could just behave, I could do more learning in this classroom. Yeah, and now we don't have that. I gave an example, I think on Monday also, about how we always want to be able to give students that one-on-one or small group attention, but it's never 100%, because there's always an eye or an ear just looking over your shoulder and listening to whatever that child in the background might be doing. And you don't have to do that anymore. You can run a one-on-one session or five students together in a small group explicit lesson or whatever that might be. You don't have to worry about what so-and-so is doing over there in the corner or why this person's out of their seat. There's a total I think positive opportunity in that. Yeah, connecting with nature in your backyard or your balcony. I cleaned my balcony up yesterday afternoon once I'd finished work. It was a bit of a messy job, but now I can go into that space. So I really appreciate that. Lots of positive things. So no matter how you're feeling, let's try and find, I say find the positive, although sometimes I think that's an overused term. Let's find the opportunity in this that we can really start to leverage and connect with, so that we can start to focus on what is good. The reason we do this when we look at self-care is because if just like if we continually focus on the negative, we will spiral down and that will become our default. And as humans, we have this negativity bias, so that's where we always want to go. It's easier. We have to train ourselves to find the good and the opportunity. I'm sure you would all relate to, you know, if you get a group of teachers together, or if one teacher starts talking about how frustrated they are, the ripples of that is really quite contagious, and it happens quickly, and then all of a sudden you've got a group of teachers in a staff room just complaining about whatever. Now, if you shift that and you have a teacher who starts talking about what went amazingly well, the ripples and the power in that is 100 times more effective, because you're picking up people's mood, you're boosting energy, you're making them feel like they've made a difference. So we've got to choose the language that we use, we've got to choose what we focus on, we've got to choose whether or not we're looking at the negative or the positive, because that is about how we shift our self-care into being proactive and taking responsibility for that. All right, I'm going to keep going. I think I'm talking way more than I anticipated. Okay. So teachers are natural givers, and there is, I'm sure you've seen this saying before, you can't pour from an empty cup, and it's totally true. So it doesn't matter how big your cup is to start with, you only can give so much. And what we don't realize is that once we start hitting that burnout and that overwhelm and feeling super stressed and we can't get anything done, or maybe it plays up for you in a type of procrastination where you just are wandering around wondering what to do, it's because your cup is empty. So you need to notice that they are signs and cues that you need to give and pay more attention to yourself. And often we don't do that. We are just like, go, 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 keep going, don't worry, I'll be fine, I'll make it. I think one of the things we say as teachers most often and most commonly is, I'll get to holidays. I'll get to holidays. It's only 5 weeks. It's only 4 weeks. It's only 3 weeks. In fact, how often is it day one of term, whatever it might be, and you say, oh, hi, how was your holiday? And the teacher responds, yeah, fantastic, 10 weeks to go though. So we're always counting down. And that certainly impacts on our ability to be present and to acknowledge and notice when it is we might be having a high or a low, because we're waiting for holidays and we're waiting for this to happen. And once I get to the holidays, I'm going to have 2 weeks of just my own time, and that's it. And I've just got to get there, and I've just got to get there, and I've just got to get there. And when holidays get there, how many of you are sick? How many of you are so exhausted you can't do anything? How many of you are, well, I made it, but my to-do list is still, you know, as big as it was when I left school, and now I've got to go back to school tomorrow. So we have to start to listen and learn to our own self day by day. And right now, I will promise you that your need for self-care is high, because your perception of being overwhelmed and stressed and having so much to do is heightened, because we're into the unknown. And when that starts to happen, when we start to head down to the unknown, and when we start to go into a place that we're unfamiliar with, where we're not only overwhelmed and stressed because of the work, we also have a slight feeling of resistance, because we're not sure what it's going to look like or do, and will it work or will it not, and will we fail or will we succeed? And because we don't know where we're going, we don't have a path to follow, it makes it harder to connect with. And so right now, with whatever is going on in your school or your family or your space, the idea of filling up your cup is so important, because this is a time where we're going to have to give in ways that we don't know. And that is what is so exhausting, because you want to give, right? You want to give to your students and your family, and that's what we do so well. But we don't always know how in this moment. We don't know how, we don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know how we're going to make that happen. We don't know if it'll work. And that can be really, that can be overwhelming just on its own, let alone everything else that is happening. So we do need to fill our cup. Sorry, I just have to have a drink of water. So often with our students, we use that metaphor of their backpack. So they can only fit so many things in their backpack. And if we look at some students who might have social emotional needs or physical needs, their backpack is already quite full already. And we know that what we do as teachers is we try not to add to their backpack. We try not to make them have to carry more things than they need. And I think for us right now, this is a metaphor we can adopt as well. So what is in your backpack, and is it already nearly full? And maybe it's overflowing, you need to take some things out, or maybe you just need to stop, or maybe you need to put it down. You know, we've got to understand what are all the things we're juggling and carrying, and how is that making us feel, because we will get to a point where our backpack is just so heavy we won't be able to pick it up, and then it's almost too late, and we can't afford that right now. We just can't. We cannot afford not to be there for our students. So the idea of taking care of yourself is sometimes really hard for teachers, in the sense that we feel guilty about it. We feel guilty that we are putting ourselves first. It's not natural to us. It's not something that we do willingly. It's often, if you've got a spare moment or a spare minute of time, you think about what can you do for school, or what can you do for your family, or what can you do for your kids, or what can you do for a friend. So all of those things come first. And what happens is, when we do start to put ourselves first, we kind of feel like we're being a little bit selfish. We might feel like we're giving up, or we're not giving enough. And so being able to give to us can be really hard, because it's something that is not natural, which means we have to teach ourselves to do. Does that resonate with anyone when I say that? Does anyone understand what I mean by that? Does anyone want to comment on that? Yeah. And someone's got frozen in the background. Funny. Yeah, it's really easy to feel guilty, isn't it? Always easier to look after other people. For sure. Yeah, the guilt. Oh, yeah. Yeah, cool. I didn't want it to be just me, because then that would mean the rest of my content doesn't go too well. So great. So there is this element of feeling guilty when you stop and you put yourself first. But there is a way to do it so that you don't have to worry about that, so that you can let that go. And we have to, it's like building a new muscle in the brain. You have to teach yourself that it's okay. You have to tell yourself that it's okay to put you first. And the way that you can do that without guilt is knowing that you're doing it when it doesn't affect anyone else. It doesn't impact anyone else. So you absolutely can be selfish in a good way. Because if you give yourself that time to be a little bit selfish, you're putting, like, let's say you're putting giving yourself 5 points. Well, it doubles and amplifies. That means you have 10 points to give everyone else. I hope that made sense. I might work on that metaphor. So, you know, if you give yourself a little bit, that means you have so much more to give back. Because what happens if you just keep giving and giving and giving, and then you give with guilt, you start to almost resent the giving. And that's a really painful spot to be in. It's like, you know, a girlfriend rings you up and she's saying, do you want to come for coffee on the weekend and hang out and have a chat? And you want to connect with her, you do, but at the same time, you just want to have a sleep in. Now, there is nothing wrong with going, I really want to catch up, but I'm super tired and I just think I need a bit of extra sleep this week. Is that okay? Your friend will be like, absolutely, I hear you. Because she's probably like, oh, I'd like a bit of an extra sleep too, so that sounds really nice. Now, you're not saying I have no time for you, but it's about putting boundaries around what's okay and what's not in terms of looking after yourself right now. And although the thought that just came to me was, we're not allowed to go for coffee anyway, so that's a bad example. But in general, I'm having virtual coffee with my friends this week, so that'll be fun. But, you know, it's about knowing what to say no and what to say yes to. So maybe it is about leaving the marking right now, because what we're really trying to do is set our students up for success and letting them feel safe and connected. And so giving them feedback on their work right now isn't really going to be that valuable in terms of making them feel like they've got that online connection with you and all they want to do is see you in person. It's about knowing that you can be selfish when it doesn't impact other people. If you were to, like, a really terrible example would be like, you know what, I'm not doing my lessons today because I'm just too tired, so I'm just going to hang on the couch and watch Netflix. That is being selfish in not an effective way, and I don't think any teacher would do that. But you can start to say no to things that might be taking time away from you or feeling a little bit draining. And I think with what's going on and the shift that we're taking, it is about being kind to yourself and about understanding what you can and can't do. We put extreme amounts of pressure on ourselves as teachers, extreme amounts. We have high expectations. We want everything to be done beautifully well to a really high standard. You know, I often talk about the Pinterest perfect thing because we all want it to be Pinterest perfect. And I think at this time we need to let some of that go. You know, we were even having conversations here at Real Schools about, you know, it's about just getting something out. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's about showing that we're here and we support you. And I think it's the same for your students. It's about just knowing that you're showing up and giving them what you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, because you have to be a little bit selfish right now and know that you need that extra time and space for you. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope that you understand where I'm coming from with that. So there is a good type of selfish, and I think the key question is asking yourself, is it going to hurt anyone if I say no? Am I going to hurt anyone by, you know, putting this down and walking away for a minute? Am I going to hurt anyone by not checking my emails for 2 hours? You're not. It's okay. It's okay to put those boundaries in place. So maybe ask yourself right now, what are you feeling is most overwhelming and draining? What are you feeling that when you go to do it causes you the sense of, and that feeling of, oh, I just don't want to do it? Now, again, you have to be honest and ask yourself, am I feeling like this because it is too much and I'm overwhelmed, or is it something I hate doing it anyway, which is probably a little bit different? So find those things and put them down for a little minute and do something that is kind to you, which we'll talk about in a minute, some different examples of that, and then come back to it later. There is no harm in leaving something for an hour or 2 hours if it doesn't affect anyone. It will affect you. That's my cat just sneezed. Did you hear that? It will affect you if you continue to push through, because you'll end up resenting that space. But only you can decide that. Only you can decide what you can and can't let go of. Only you can decide when you can say no. Only you can decide when you can lighten up and be a little bit kind. Not lowering expectations by any means, but just being a bit more realistic about the expectations we put on ourselves. Does that make sense? Can anyone connect with that? Sorry, I have to keep drinking because, you know, self-care is about looking after yourself, and I went for a run and it was 10 degrees outside and now my throat hurts. How are we finding that? Perfect. All right, let's keep going. All right. Yeah, it's okay to say no, not today. Totally is. Let's see. So self-care. So I've talked a little bit about these things, and self-care is an interesting topic at the moment. I think self-care and well-being have a really big kind of sense of hype around them, don't they? There's certainly a market out there that where we're seeing more self-care stuff come through. Kmart's all over it. And so I think there are some superficial self-care things that we might be seeing that have been put to us. And then there are some other layers of deeper self-care, which I want to unpack a bit here for you. And this is a great graphic that has thrown a few things out. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but so I just have to move one thing because I can't see. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but some might resonate with you and some might not, or some might kind of think, oh, I've never thought about that. So one of the things around self-care I want to talk about is support. Self-care is about asking for help. It's about going, I'm not okay right now. And that is so hard because it's such a vulnerable thing to do, because you want to be seen like you have it all together, like you know all the answers. Right now, we don't know the answers. We don't even know the questions. So it's really hard. So part of self-care is going, I need some support. I need some help on whatever it might be. I need some help with my lesson planning. I need some help to connect with some parents I'm having difficulty with. I need some help because I know this student has really poor attention and focus, but they love blah, blah, and blah. And I want to be able to do that even though I'm not physically with them. It's about saying, you know what, I'm just not sleeping that well, and I really need some support around knowing that I might be a little bit tired, or you know, I might be coming in right on the bell time because I'm having trouble just getting out of bed, and I just need you to understand that, and I'm working on it. You know, there are different things that we can ask for right now that are really going to help us move forward, and that is self-care. Self-care is being vulnerable. Self-care is about asking for help. Self-care is saying, I don't know right now and I need someone with me. I think what we see a lot of is you know, self-care is yoga and meditation, and it's way more than that, even though I'm a believer of that. I'll talk about my basic 4 pillars in a minute, but it's way more than that. And it is a whole bunch of these things. You know, I talked about awareness. Self-care is about having the awareness of the emotional state that you're in. Is it positive or negative? Are you looking at the negativity and going down your negativity bias because that's what you normally do? Do you need to flip that up and look more at the positives and the opportunities that we have here? Self-care is about the choices you make. I mean, generally, most of us know the right choice to make. We don't always do it. But self-care is about owning the choices you make also. So if you know that having that block of chocolate for dinner is not the best choice, but you did it anyway, you have to own that choice. That means you have to own that you're going to feel a bit sick. That means you have to own you're going to feel lethargic. That means you have to own the guilt that you're now putting on yourself because you ate that. Some self-care isn't always pretty. It's not always like the beautiful pictures that we see of people drinking cups of tea in their nice woolen jumpers, or people overlooking the sunset as they meditate. And it's not always beautiful herbal tea and glass cups and teapots. It's not all that pretty stuff. Self-care is hard sometimes. It really is. Even just slowing down is hard. Oh, that's my finger that cracked. It's really hard to stop. We live in this environment that is about results, that is about fast, that is about always something to do. As a teacher, there is always something to do. And slowing down is near impossible. You know, it's really hard. You have to teach yourself to do that. There are elements of self-care that you just need to teach yourself, like you teach your students to read, like you teach your students to write, like you teach your students, we walk inside, not run. When someone is talking, we listen. You need to teach yourself awareness and awareness of self. You need to teach yourself to ask for help. You need to teach yourself to slow down. You need to teach yourself to know what your priorities are and what's important to you, because that is where you will be able to make decisions that are in line with your values. So knowing your values is super important. This is something I talk about in one of our courses in Real Schools Academy, under our self-care course in one of our modules. Knowing your values is imperative to how you make your decisions and choices, because all of that needs to be in line with what is important to you. So, one of my non-negotiables around self-care is exercise. I think moving every day should be a non-negotiable for everyone in whatever capacity that may look like. It's one of my 4 pillars. And it's a priority for me because I know it makes me feel good. I know that it helps me with my clarity and thinking and I feel better. I know I am more focused. I know that I get into my workday better because I have given my body what it needs before I give to everyone else. So I make that a priority. If I am traveling, be it on a holiday or for work, I will make sure I either have access to a gym or I can go for a run, or I have done workouts in hotel rooms, because I know just getting that rush and feeling good is so important to how I start my day. It's a value of mine. When my partner and I travel, we choose hotels based on the breakfast and whether they have a gym, because breakfast is important to everyone, but having access to a gym is really important to us, because staying fit and healthy and knowing that our body is working at a functional and optimal level is important to us. So you've got to know your priorities and what that looks like for you. Is slowing down a priority for you right now? You've got to make the decision, which may not always be easy to do that. Is your physical condition, as it says there, something that you need to make a priority for you right now? If you're low on energy, or you're not sleeping well, or you're hungry and you've got sugar cravings and things, sometimes just moving can really help to get you out of that funk. So I'm going to stop talking and have another drink. I don't know how long I've been talking for. Just have a look at that list, or anything that I've said. Is there anything that you, again, relate to, connect to, that you have a question about? Feel free to drop it in the box while I just sip on my licorice tea with lemon. Yeah, you're forcing a walk with your kids. You go for that. Good work. I did force myself to go for a run. It was very painful. It hurt. It's still hurting. I finished like 3 hours ago. Hard. Thanks. Wonderful. You do PE with Joe every morning. My sister sent me a video of my nephew doing that in her lounge room. It looked intense. Man, so I could give one of those a go. Alternating lions. Oh, that's the best. I love it. I love it. Self-isolation has a new meaning. I bet it does. Yeah, Bruce, I wonder how can you connect with your family, and then also how can you use that to connect with yourself too? You meditate for 5 minutes every morning before work, clears, yeah, and calm. I love that. I do meditation every morning too, and I think again, I talk about this in one of Real Schools Academy courses, but if you start your day rushed and panicked and chaotic, then you go into work rushed with panic and chaos. And that does not translate well into a classroom or a meeting or whatever it is you might be doing. So starting the day in that calm state where your mind is clear and you know that you can tackle whatever might come your way is really important. One of the reasons that I think having that calm mind when you start the day is really important too, is because you never know what is going to be thrown at you as a teacher. You never know what's waiting for you in your classroom. You feel like you should, but you don't. And often if you've already been in that rush panic state and then you have something you weren't expecting happen, like an emergency meeting or a parent shows up, or you're expecting something to happen and it didn't, your reaction can be a reaction rather than a response. So when an event happens, we can react or respond. But if you haven't given yourself the time or space to be calm, to allow that part of your brain to kick in, you will just react straight away. And if you react, often the outcome or the next reaction of the person you might be connecting with or whatever, it can end up in a way that you might not have wanted it. And by giving yourself that calm space in the morning, whether that looks like moving, meditating, taking it slow, alternating sleep-ins, driving and looking at the beach every day, someone is saying, going for a walk around the block, it means that when chaos is thrown at you, because it does happen, you will be able to respond in a more appropriate way rather than just react. So I think that's a really, really good key message there. Just reading some of those. I like this. Someone says they go for a walk around the block before and after work every time, and they use that. This is great. I've never heard this before. They use that as an opportunity to pretend that they're working to and from school, which helps them to have a disconnect and a separation between work and home. I love that, Joanna. I love that. I've never heard that before. I really love that. I'm a big believer in work and home. Whilst we can never deny that they will gel and meld, if we continually bring our work life into our home life and vice versa, this is where I think, I don't want to get onto this, but this is where I think as teachers we lose our identity. And so when it's a fine line, isn't it? I think, yeah, we're teachers, but I often say we're people first and then we're teachers. But if we are just always a teacher, when something like even what we're experiencing right now is removed, it can really push out on our identity. So you have to know who you are first. And I think that walking before and after school thing around the block, where you're separating that, is such a great way to do that. It gives you a physical cue that that's what's happening. Love it. All right, let's keep going. Thanks everyone for that. All right, so I'm just going to talk to you about non-negotiables. I used to call these the 4 pillars, but when I was putting them together, I was like, we need something else here. So I've added in 5. So the first one is water. These are really, by the way, these are really simple and basic, and they're just things that you can do in your everyday life already that you don't have to feel guilty for. They're not going to take away from time that you put onto someone else, and they're not going to be overwhelming for you. They're really simple, and we actually hear about them all the time. So in a way, I feel like everyone knows this. Everyone does know this, but not everyone does it. And I think that's the problem. So the first one is, yeah, great to be reminded, isn't it? It really is. Water. So I'm an avid water drinker, and I want to share this with you. I came across this great tip because often we have a glass of water when we walk in the kitchen or at break time, whatever that might be. But I'm in this fitness group and someone was saying I need to drink more water and I need to keep track of it. Has anyone got great ideas? And so I'm sure we've all seen those water bottles now with markers and things. So this is my water bottle, and probably can't see because I only got one. I can get it off. So it's an elastic band. No, I've put it on too tight. There's an elastic, here we go. There's an elastic band here at the top. So for every litre of water you drink, every time you fill your water bottle up, you add an elastic band, and then that will help you keep track of how many litres of water you drink each day. I thought that was fabulous. I just need to tell more people about that. So if that's, if you're not a big water drinker, you start with maybe 2 litres a day. That's 2 rubber bands, easy peasy. And again, you just add a rubber band each time. How brilliant is that? So water is just so great for helping your brain be able to think clearly. If you've got a headache, drink more water. If you've got sugar cravings, drink more water. If you're feeling a bit blah, drink more water. The idea is to not guzzle a litre at once, but just sip it and stay hydrated. If you are stressed, drink more water. If you're having trouble sleeping, drink more water. It does so many wonderful things for us, and it's right there. It's, my goodness, isn't that just something to be grateful for right now, that we still have access to free, clean drinking water? I mean, it's something we can do really simple and really easily. Right, my next one is, please eat your fruits and vegetables, a colourful range of them. Again, I know this sounds really simple, but the easiest things to do are also the easiest things to let go of when we're tired and when we're stressed and when we're overwhelmed and we're feeling anxious. They really are. It's way easier to grab a pre-made snack out of the fridge or have a tub of yogurt or some nuts or something than it is to think about what fruits and vegetables am I having right now. It's way easier to reach for a muesli bar or whatever's on your staff room table right now, which I imagine could be a little bit dangerous. It's way easier to do that, and it's a really easy pattern to fall into. Prep. Someone said another great tip I've heard is prep veggie boxes. So at the start of each week, if you get a plastic container, you line them with, if this is not useful, can someone tell me? But if it is useful, can you just let me know? Because I don't want you to be thinking like I'm telling you stuff, If you line a plastic container, Tupperware container, with a piece of wet paper and slice up carrot sticks, zucchini, capsicum, whatever, it'll stay fresh for a week, 5 days, school week. It's really easy and simple to do that. Again, moving, a few people have shared different ways that they do that. I talked about my hideous run this morning. I just think moving for our body to boost our energy is going to be something that we need right now. Plus, outdoors. Can't go to the gym anymore. That was a bit of a moment I had. So outdoors, sunshine, fresh air, and moving. That will do wonders for us right now if we're feeling stuck, if we're feeling like, ugh, I can't get out of this. Yeah, good. Someone said they're still making lunch boxes, to keeping fruit breaks, etc. happening. I work from home. I still meal prep. On a Sunday. I still have all my food ready to go. Yeah. Good. You had a drink of water. Fabulous. Love it. So think about your moving. I don't think any amount of yoga that you do will not fix how you're feeling right now. As much as I would love to say do yoga every day, you've got to get out there. You've got to get in the sunshine. This is about doing all of the things that are going to connect us with feeling better for our self-care. If yoga is your thing, do that. If you want to run, go and do that. If you want to take your kids and your dog or your bikes, go and do that. But I think we have 2 choices right now, and that is to stay inside and stay away from people and be in a down point about it, or we go, this is what I have access to, these are what my opportunities are, these are my values, and this is what's important to me, and this is what I need to do. And if that means that you need to get up and you need to go outside, you still can do that. There are countries right now that cannot do that. So do it while we can, because I would hate to think there comes a point in Australia where we are locked inside our homes and we can't get out for a run. So, although I don't know if I need to run again, but you know what I mean? Like, we can't get outside. So it is just going to do so many amazing things for how you feel. Sleep. I did a video on the Real Schools Academy Facebook page yesterday afternoon. If you haven't liked that, head over to Real Schools Academy and find it. I gave a few tips on why sleep is so important right now and how to do it easily, or easier, I should say. The first thing you need to know, though, if you are someone who's been struggling with sleep or have a lack of sleep, or you really never had a good sleep routine, it's not going to be easy to fix. It's not like, oh, I'll just do these 5 things and now it's all sorted. Again, it's about building that muscle memory and those cues for your body that you are getting ready for sleep. So just like in the morning when you get ready for the day and you get up and you have breakfast, a cup of coffee, you brush your teeth, you get dressed, you go to work, that's like a morning routine, right? We need to do the opposite, and we need to have a sleep routine. And I think so many of us miss this. We're not really taught about a morning routine, but it's just something we do. But oh, you took a screenshot and we'll make it the slide on your desktop background. I love it. Where, you know, we're not really taught to have a sleep routine, but we need to be giving our body certain cues that it's time to get ready for sleep before our head hits the pillow is really important. So, you know, doing things like switching off devices, like putting your phone down, preferably an hour before bed. I mean, I say that and I don't really do it. 30 minutes is more realistic. But putting that phone down and stop looking at social media and paying attention to the news. We want to remove all negative things from our mind, because otherwise, as we try and sleep, you know what it's like to have stuff just running over your brain. So you want to remove the possibility or the options or the things that make that pop up, and you want to focus on something else. So watching a comedy or, you know, a drama that has you on the edge of your seat can be really good for that too, because you're focusing on something different and you're removing everything else that has made you worry all day. Reading is fantastic, preferably some kind of fiction book, because if you're reading non-fiction, it can be a little bit hard to kind of pay attention to, or it can be the opposite. You'll pay too much attention to it and then you can't sleep. So finding some kind of fiction book is really nice to read as well. Again, you want to lower that brain function that's going on. You want to reduce it right down so you're in a more calmer state. Turning all the lights off. In our body, we have, you have a 6-month-old, you're big on her sleep routine, but need to improve your own. We're great with kids, aren't we, about sleep and what a sleep routine look like, but as we move into adults, we don't do that. It is so important. So another thing to do is to look at what light is around you. Before we lived in houses with lights, we used to use the sun to have cues of when to wake and sleep. That was the only light we had, the only light source. And so we have inbuilt in our body our circadian rhythm, and that is in line with the sun and how it works. And so what has happened is that's kind of out of whack and it's not working, which it affects your hormones and all kinds of things and things in your body. But because we're surrounded by artificial light, it will stop us being able to fall asleep. So like, again, an hour before bedtime, turning off and reducing that artificial light. Now, of course, you need some light to see. So having a lamp in the background can be enough to get you by, or going by candlelight, if that's an option for you, is also really good, because just by lowering the light around you, you are saying to your body and your mind, we're getting ready to sleep. Slowing down those conversations, slowing down how you're moving. You know, again, if you are hopping into bed and you've been rushing around like crazy, then getting your body to switch off for you to sleep is going to be really hard. So if you're struggling with this, that's something really to work on. And then when you're in bed, you know, taking 10 deep breaths just to slow your mind is really useful if you can't sleep. And darkness, again, because that links to your circadian rhythm. So darkness is really important thing to. I sleep with an eye mask on, and that has become actually my body's cue for sleep. So as soon as I put it on, I think I'm out in about 5-10 minutes, as long as my partner's not snoring. It's pretty good. So there are some things there for us to look at right now. Again, this is easy to do. It doesn't impact anyone. It's a good kind of selfish, right? And the last thing is journaling and paying attention to your thoughts. So it's just like I've talked about at the start, checking in with the language that you're using, checking in with how you're feeling, checking in with what you're focusing on. If you are into journaling, writing it out can be really powerful. So just write. There really are no rules. You just write out how you're feeling and what you're thinking and get it down on paper. Or maybe it's just having that internal conversation with yourself. You know, I've been really feeling like this and focusing on blah, and instead I'm going to try and do this. Or you might even just write down some positive things, or keeping a gratitude journal. There are multiple ways that you can do this. Fabulous. So they might, I guess I have to call them 5 pillars now. They're the 5 things. Gosh, they sound like we hear about them all the time. We teach them to our students. We ask our students, what's in your lunchbox today? Did you have a good night's sleep last night? How much water have you drunk? but we don't do it to ourselves, do we? We don't often stop and check in and do it to us. So if you are struggling in any aspect right now, go back to these essentials and just say, you know, what can I do to pick up how I'm feeling right now, because this will impact no one. In fact, if you are doing it for you and other people benefit, isn't that great? How does that sound? So the little, someone's just, Eva just said, can I have a thing about sleep? The sleep video I recorded yesterday on a Facebook Live, and it's on the Real Schools Academy Facebook page. So you might have already liked and seen the Real Schools page, but there is a Real Schools Academy. I'll show you the logo in a minute so you know what to look for. So it's on the Real Schools Academy Facebook page. If you can't find that, Eva, just flick me an email at amy@realschools.com.au and I'll get it to you. I just looked for it and couldn't find it. Okay, give me a sec. Okay, let's keep going. Gosh, I've talked a lot today. 5 minutes, I promise. Okay, so it really is up to you. It really is up to you how you manage your own self-care, and only you are responsible for it. And I think sometimes we don't want to hear that. We want someone else to provide us with all kinds of things to make us feel better, and no one can. So this has to be you doing it, you driving it, you deciding what's important to you, what your values are, what you're going to say no to, what your non-negotiables are, the small changes you can make, and putting yourself first. Small changes is key. You can't go in and do it all at once, because that just creates another kind of overwhelm and stress. It's kind of funny if you do too much at once, because you want to, like, we want to fix everything, of course we do, but if we do too much at once, we just set ourselves up for failure in a way, because we become so overwhelmed and stressed it becomes a chore. So we want to pick one thing and do it well, so it becomes an ingrained habit, and then we layer the next thing on and the next thing on. Please don't go and like start drinking 4 liters of water and change your diet and your sleep routine and everything all at once and think it's all going to work, because more than likely it's a little bit of give and take, and so it won't always be 100% as you would like it. It's like learning to ride a bike. You have to teach yourself how to do this, so it becomes an ingrained habit that you don't think about and is then part of your unconscious. So, you know, like driving in a car, once you get in a car and drive, you just drive, you don't even think about it. You can get from A to B and then wonder how you got there, right? We want these habits to become the same. We want part of your self-care to become the same. Now, of course, when moments like right now are really busy, you may have to schedule self-care in. So you may have to say, you know what, I am really like blah at the moment, or really overwhelmed. So I can't do it today, but tomorrow night I'm taking it off. Like, no devices, no email, no schoolwork, I'm out. So you have to listen to yourself as well. And sometimes it's about scheduling in that bigger moment, but the self-care we're missing out on, I think, you know, those 4 pillars are in our face all the time. They're on every Kmart shelf. But what we're really missing out on is that idea of self-care is our language, self-care is our choices, self-care is our values, self-care is our decisions, self-care is up to us. And that's kind of what I want to leave you with. I know I touched on the easier stuff, but there is a bigger picture to that I think we need to start talking about, especially in our teaching community. And that's where we can make a difference on how we feel, which makes a difference on how we teach and how we show up for our students and our colleagues and our peers and our school community and even our own families. And I think that is the really important thing when it comes to self-care. So before I finish up and just do the last slide with you, that's really the self-care stuff. So I just want you to take a minute to think about, what's your biggest takeaway today? What really resonated with you? And, you know, what are you going to commit to? Getting outside, fantastic. Taking more time for yourself, lovely. Cannonook staff are going to remind each other about all of these things. I love it. Thank you so much. Doing one thing at a time. You're welcome. You're welcome, Sarah. Boundaries, yeah. A routine for work-life balance, yeah. Cool. So many things. So For those of you who don't know, I do run Real Schools Academy, which is a new branch of Real Schools, and that is a bunch of courses just for teachers. So this is an academy just for teachers, and if you haven't seen that, I'd love for you to go and check it out. We have a bunch of courses starting on the 5th of May, and right now we've got an early bird offer and a few other sign-up things happening. There are courses in there for our graduate, established teachers, and those of you looking or starting leadership. And courses in there are designated to self-care, so there are some in there around self-care, and there are some in there around teaching and learning and a few other things as well. Also coming out hopefully tomorrow or Monday at the latest, we will be offering you a Real Schools Academy free 5-day course, which is kind of similar to what we've done about helping you get to the end of the year without feeling burnout, so keep your eye out for that as well. But thank you everyone for showing up today. I love seeing what people are going to do, focusing on the domains of basic self-care just a little bit. Yeah, I'm doing the same. That's why I started the rubber band thing, because yesterday I don't think I drank enough water. Committing to some mindfulness, looking at the positive, scheduling and exercise. Yeah, it's too easy to be too busy. That is so true, Jason, so true. Drinking more tea, yeah, nice. Changing the language that you use, fabulous. Taking time for self-care without feeling guilty, yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to leave there because I know that you are all really busy, but thank you for giving up the time and attending today. Like I said, you can find me at one of those places down the bottom. I do Real Schools Academy, so check that out on our website too. That free 5-day course is coming out, I promise, latest next week, and it'll have some brilliant information for you as well. I hope that was really useful, and we have another Shutdown Brunch PL coming up tomorrow. You would have seen Simon posting those comments as we've been going along. Isn't it bad that I just can't remember what tomorrow's is? I apologise. It's definitely Adam joining us. There we go, keeping it together. Adam's bringing you one tomorrow for our school leaders. So jump on the Real Schools Facebook page and you'll see all of the information for that as well. I'll be back next week with something else. Fabulous. All right, have a great day. Have a great day. Connect with you later.